What's going on YouTube? This is Blackroseninja Productions, and today I am going live on Microsoft Office PowerPoint. I was trying to go ahead and launch myself back into the previous progress that I did before, but I had to switch computers, and what basically wound up happening is I no longer have access to the progress that I've already made. Yeah, a little upsetting. It's okay though, because I'm going to start from fresh, from the very beginning, and we're just going to do a fresh stream. I know it says day 4, but it's whatever. We'll just pick up on it. So basically I'll be doing a little bit of talking about how I do it and what I'm doing with the drawing, but for the most part we're going to be focusing on getting the art piece taken care of and done, so you guys can see how I draw on Microsoft PowerPoint. A while back I actually had a lot of questions behind the scenes, behind YouTube and all that, through Discord's community specifically, on how and why I do art on Microsoft Office PowerPoint specifically. And so I started up this stream to basically explain that and show it. So I guess just enjoy. Let's kick right into it. Don't mind this. Click out of that. A little bit of art stuff. All right. So here's the image we're drawing. This is pretty simple. I say simple because I've been using the software for quite some time. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a template, which is the background image. And then the template that we're going to be drawing on is actually not the size we want to fit it to. But if you notice with the size that I have, we're going to go ahead and make a line. I'll explain this here in a second. We're going to zoom in. So we're at 400%, and that is the farthest I can get. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull out one of the draw tools and show you a little bit of something. And this is what you do not want to do. Alright, so I have the eye. Notice how hard it is for me to get detail. I am kind of far away. So what we're going to do to avoid that is we're going to back straight back out. You do this on every single art software, so it's really not any difference. Go up here to design. Click that. You want to go to slide size. Page setup. And here we go with the custom setup that we want. So the standard piece of paper is 8.5 width and 7.5 inches in length. So what we want to do, we'll just do 16 and 22. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's not what I wanted. And now I have a little bit more room to work with. So as you can see, we're zoomed all the way back to 50%. And so we're going to go ahead and test this by stretching the image. And so you do not, this is a big tip for me, you do not want the image to, let's do this, stretch and touch both sides. And the reason I say that is because Microsoft PowerPoint does not have individual layers. Therefore, you can snag every single individual part of it, which is why this is not really designed for art and stuff like that. Okay, it just fell. So what we're going to do is trim this up a little bit. We're going to crop it. We're not drawing the background. Maybe we'll do that some other time. We want that as close to that as possible. This side we want to keep because of the sword. Yeah, I could probably go to Photoshop and clear this out, but that defeats the purpose. We're drawing 100% on Microsoft Office PowerPoint. So we're going to test it. Go back over to home, pull out some of your stuff. You can use literally image for this. And so what I said I was going to explain earlier, I always use this tool, freeform, and then there's the curve tool, and then there's the scribble. These three here actually have a tracking line, which means that they flow through. They don't just draw a line and quit, which means you can make solid shapes out of this, which is the key. So predominantly for drawing, these are literally the only three that you use, and I'll explain them through how I go. But back to earlier, the reason why I made a line is because that is how you zoom, and that is much better. Obviously it's a little pixelated, but I've drawn this before, so I'm not terribly worried about that. Give it a second. The reason I said we want to draw a line to click and zoom is because that targets the location that we want to zoom. So we could do this, which is the control instead of going all the way down at the bottom. But if you notice, it literally just centers the image. It does not go to a specific location. And so we'll go back to that tool again, control, and we'll scroll this time, which takes us, it's a little slower, that's why I usually click the bar, straight to it. And so the cool thing about this is you can actually adjust your lines pretty easily. If you go into your edit, you can edit points. Yeah, you get my point. There's points. Anyhow, we're going to go ahead and start off with the mask. Alright. Sorry, I have some hair in my mask. I don't know how that got there. A little frustrating. And I like to look at the images, and since we're not just drawing over layers and erasing things, you got to draw this like a puzzle piece. So take a look at the face, the mask, the eyes. They're going to be done into individual parts. And so I always like to do the layers where it looks like it's above before it's below. And the reason I say that is because we're going to individually place these pieces and then bring them front to back. So I'll kind of explain it as I go. But we'll go ahead and click here and start from the very tip. And now we're going to draw all the way down to the center piece right here. We're going to hit here, and we're going to split this off up to there and create this as its own individual piece. And then we're going to bring this down to the neck, following this line here up to here, and that'll be its own piece, but that'll be the behind piece. The face eyes right here will be selected by itself as well, and then this face mask part will be its own piece. So if you look at it, we're going to be drawing in 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces just for the face, and a 5th piece to create the last clothing drapery. So drawing into the head. It does not have to be perfect. The cool thing is you don't have to drag to be able to draw with this tool. We can click. And obviously this is more boxy, so you can add more clicks into it, or you can grab the curve tool. It'll do the same thing, but you'll have to add more points to get the curve to keep it from doing this weird bubble loop, which I will end up using specifically around the eyes, so I'll explain that in a second. Also, if you make a mistake, say I click all the way out here, I'm like, oh no, what do? Just hit the delete and it'll go back to the original point you originally selected. So yes, this is really tedious, and I'm not drawing on this software live to say, hey, this is the best software, this is what you should be using. It's not. I don't recommend drawing on here unless you absolutely have to, or want to challenge yourself, or just want to. I mean, there are pros to it, but there are a lot of tedious cons as well. I already been shaping away from what I said I wasn't going to do. But it is, once you get your final product, it does look cool. It has like a style to it that I really, really like. But yeah, so we have a solid piece right here. What we do is we come over here and we select this. Go ahead and click no fill. I personally like to color them out, but my eyes are doing me pretty well, and I can turn my brightness up right here so I can see the black line very easily. If you have trouble seeing that line, just go into your lines and you can color it and change the color of it later. Alright, so we have the first piece. Now, the steps to this are really weird. Also, most annoying thing in the world, you cannot draw past this. It'll close your line. You won't be able to make a solid shape out of it. And you cannot shape, fill, color a non-solid shape. That is the important part that you need to know if you're going to be trying something like this, because it will not cooperate with you, and you will have to draw an entire shape. And so in other words, you need this to be open and visually seen by all of your eyes. So sometimes you do have to zoom out and zoom in a little bit to get that kind of adjustment. Alright, and so this part right here really doesn't matter. You don't have to make it perfect, but do not draw. So for something like this, there's going to be an overlapping. You want it to overlap and not be close to the line seams, because when you transfer this, there could be gaps in it and holes, and it can really ruin your art. So just kind of keep it, I usually keep it about 1/2 inch to 1 inch away from the original line. Yes, this sounds silly, but it will make sense. And do the same thing on this side. And so then there's that piece. Now go ahead and no fill it and black line. Now first off, these are way too thin of lines for the way the colors are going to blend. In other words, the colors that are going to take away the depth, and you want the line to have a bold line to be able to show your angles. So go ahead and go into your line. You want to click that arrow that's right there. Make sure I'm not covering anything. Yep, cool. And then come over here. You can select weight. You can go to more lines, which I'll explain this later. This is how you get into a whole bunch of your settings. But for now, we're going to see how 3 does, and 3 looks perfect. It's a little bold, but it'll work great. And I'll explain why here in a little bit. I'm not trying to sit and explain on one topic and ramble, because it can take up hours of time. So we'll do that in a bit by bit. And so there we go. I'll take this, send to back, send to back. And yes, you could do it in between layers, but I always send it behind the image and then send the image back behind again. And then now we are going to start on the face. And this part we actually want to use this tool here, which is, if you notice, when you highlight over it or hover over it, the name of the tool pops up. This one's a little more tedious and takes a little more experience. It is very similar to the loop tool or whatever it's called in Photoshop. literally the exact same thing. The exact thing, or same thing, because it does this weird curvature thing. The difference is a draw tool instead of a outline tool to clip out a piece of image or a part of an image from a picture. Alright, so when I was talking about the curvature thing, if you go straight here, sometimes it does okay. You gotta have enough points, but if you just do this, you'll notice how there's this weird loop. It makes it to where your edges aren't flush and you get a bubble in it. To avoid that, just like in Photoshop, you do more clicks. In other words, more points are going to be added to the line. And so today I am only going to be doing the head. I'm not doing this entire thing in one sitting, so it will be a relatively short stream. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want this stream to be very long, so that the explaining of it is straight to the point, and there could be, I guess, a little bit of learning from it. But yeah, go ahead and no fill. We're going to weight it, and we're going to add black. Add black. It didn't do it for some reason. And there we have the silhouette outline of just the mask. And yeah, I'm going to go all the way down to this part here, which really won't take much. I'm going to do all of the shading last. That'll be on one entire stream. So right now we're going to focus on the outlining. Other than the eyes, I'm going to put a little bit of detail into, because it's hard to... it's a pet peeve of mine. I have OCD a little bit when it comes to art, and selectively with certain things. So we'll go ahead and go back into this tool. Now, this is a little weird. Genuinely do not like drawing on this software, but I also have a lot of fun with it because I'm experienced. But we want to click the point of the mask here. Wait, before I do that, I want to make sure that this is layered up properly. Yeah, it is. Okay, so whenever you draw a layer down, the layer you put down is always going to be the front. In other words, if you don't want it, if you want this part to be behind everything, you've got to go back into your settings, set to back, or you can go into your home, come up to arrange, and you have all these options. Which right clicking is just right there, so it's a whole lot easier to deal with. This part is extremely important, but we don't want to group anything yet. But this here, you just kind of draw it in. And the reason why you want to go with a bolder look is that line will be easier for you to follow. And kind of stay with it. Does not have to be perfect, because it will not be seen. There we go. Now we send this to back. Send the back image. And so you can see how it's overlapped. Now we want to no fill, weight 3. And then come back in. We'll use the curve tool. We want to do the eyes. I'm only not zooming right now because I didn't feel like it. Bad habit. No fill that. And for this, we want to do a little bit less thickness because it's more depth getting added to it. And then we can come in and zoom. If I really wanted to, we can go ahead and cheat. Hit a circle. Drop it in. For now, we'll no fill it. We'll leave the line bold the same. Do the same thing, paste that circle, and get the pupil in there. Cool thing about this is you can really make some symmetric stuff and fix some errors that are on your page, your paper. This was drawn like super fast too, so I did not do very well on it, to be honest. I mean, I think I did decent, but I've done better. And it was free-handed. Kudos to me. Pat myself on the back. It was free-handed. It took like 3 hours because I was trying to ignore certain anatomies. As this character here is the original version of my main character, Hudson Blackrose. I'm not going to go into detail because I have the storyline that's going to be doing that. Let me go ahead and... Hey, come here. What's up? Come up. Hey, bumpers. What you doing? Yeah. Why are you panting right now? You've been sleeping. Alright, get down. I gotta get back to work. Okay? Get down a minute. A little bit of a distraction. What point was this? I think it was 2. Bandit, please stop it. I know you hear everybody up and stuff and you want to be out there, but I'm not getting up. Whoops. You could do the Control Z, or if you have a Mac, Command Z. Never seen that message pop up like that. Yes, I'm aware his pupil is massive. It's like that for a reason. I'm not explaining it right now. Okay. Now this part's important. We're going to go ahead and take a step back. We're going to look at our silhouette. Looks a little intense. The eyes are going to look weird to me. That's cool. Nothing has to be perfect. And then we're going to come down to our little scroll bar, which looks almost invisible in the update. Come over here. And we are going to want to highlight just the eyes in this part here and group it. Now when you group it, and click a fill, might not do it on the update. Yeah, you gotta individually do it. What are you doing? Stop it. There. It was just being dumb for some reason. That becomes one piece. And the whole thing will color. For some reason with the update, it's not wanting to do the fill with just this on white. No idea why. It's kind of weird. But now our eyes are in place. I lied, I'm not going to go into depth, but I'm just going to show the outline. And this looks really silly. It really does. But just wait until you see the further progression of it. And so I'm going to go into Streamlabs real quick. And I'm going to put be right back. But I'm still going to be right here. And then I'm going to pull up something on the side to reference my mind for. And this is going to be an art piece that I've already done. Is a screenshot of that. And it's going to be covering the in place of the image, just so you can see it. Go back into Streamlabs here. Not Discord. Thank you. Live scene. PowerPoint. So this is an image that I've done on Microsoft Office PowerPoint. As you can see, it looks silly for the beginning, but this is the outcome in the end. And I'm showing all of that throughout the process, so please have a little bit of patience. We're going to silhouette the outside of this part here. And then I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Yeah, I know, bummer. Just the basics. Just showing the simples. I will probably have to do a little bit of depth shading in between. But I want to do it all at once. But I'm going to silhouette everything just to kind of show it. If that seems like it's a little rushed, I may change my plan on the next stream and shade the head and then go into the arm. But let me know in the comments if you happen to see this. Go ahead and say, hey, I want to see the whole thing silhouetted and shaded at the very end, or do me a favor, shade it in parts so I can see how the process works, yada yada. Just explain, put some details into it, tell me what you think. Obviously, I don't really care about critics of the artwork itself. I'm not focused on that. That'll probably get ignored. But I am going to add in this face line just to kind of remind myself that that's there. I'll go ahead and mark this. Usually I like to keep myself around 200% on stuff like this, but if you really want to get accurate, you just zoom it in, boy or gal. Or non-binary, whatever you call yourself. This one's going to be a little difficult. I'll go ahead and erase this. And so you'll notice there'll be steps that you have to redo, just like I did. I made a mistake. And what that mistake was is dragging this all the way back. From here and down to here is actually behind the shoulder. So I can't put this into one piece, because then it'll look like the shoulder is floating, because this part here is above the shoulder. So we're going to go ahead and cut this part here off to about right there. And just like in painting softwares, digital art, standard digital art, or just general digital art softwares, I'm saying software program, you can actually hide the lines, which is just a color thing. But we'll get to that when the shading comes. Alright, there you have it, the silhouette. That is the basic way to get the outline going. The reason why this was grouped is we'll kind of pull this away for a second. That's kind of what you're working with. The reason why this was grouped is because once you get your shading in, this is why I want to do shading last, but I might not be able to. We'll see how it goes. The individual pieces are not going to be able to be moved, and it makes it really, really hard to fix things, adjust things, or place your shading and your colors. So you always want to make sure all this is in parts. So most likely what we'll end up doing is taking this whole thing, I'm just going to do it for now, selecting all those parts and then grouping it. And the cool thing is, if you group this first, it does still count as individual pieces when you click on them. But if you go back into your group and you ungroup them, this part here is still grouped inside itself, so it won't ungroup the whole thing. And so that's what you do in steps to be able to continue all of this. And if you absolutely have to, you can actually take this, drag it off to the side, and then start here so it's not in your way, and then just like slowly bring it back into the place that you want it and fix it. But that just depends on what you're doing. So there you have it. Quick stream. Only wanted to make it roughly between a half hour to 45 minutes per episode. If you need to click through, I'd advise, but I do recommend watching the entire stream. The reason for that is because I'm going to mention a lot of pointers and a lot of weird things that you should be doing on the software, program, if you're going to be drawing on it. So that's it for the Microsoft Art stream. Sorry that I didn't pick up on the last one. This is a little bit more comfortable on this computer anyway, and I had to relearn the update, and some stuff was moved around and changed for comfortability purposes. So there you have it. Please don't forget to subscribe, and have a great night or day, depending on what you're